Hi guys, welcome back. The book we're going to start with today is about Frida Kahlo, a Mexican artist. So I'm just going to start reading the book now. Frida Kahlo was one of the greatest Mexican artists of the 20th century. She was born in Coyoacan, Mexico in 1907. Frida grew up during the Mexican Revolution, an event that influenced her life and changed the art of Mexico forever. And there's a photograph of her. Some of Frida's most famous works are self-portraits. In many of them, she shows herself surrounded by things that were important to her. Frida especially liked to paint flowers, plants, forests, animals, costumes, jewelry, and ancient gods and idols that were found only in Mexico. So this one is self-portrait dedicated to Leon Trotsky. As you can see, she's holding a letter and some flowers. She's on stage almost. This one is called a self-portrait with, what does that say? Changuito, okay, her little monkey, and her dog. Okay, and this one is called self-portrait with loose hair. You can see her hair is down. Sorry, my dog was making himself comfortable there. Well, I guess you can't see him. Anyways, hopefully he'll be quiet now. Okay. Frida often showed unpleasant things that happened during her life. These paintings are sometimes shocking to people, but Frida needed to paint them to help her get through some hard times. The painting shown on the next page, Without Hope, was done after a serious illness. Frida had grown weak and had no appetite. Her doctors wanted her to eat lots of strained foods, kind of like baby food. Frida was disgusted by the idea of being forced to eat and showed how she felt about this in her painting. Frida painted most of these disturbing pictures for herself. She was surprised when anyone else showed any interest in them. So this one is called Sin Esperanza, Without Hope. You can see it looks like she's vomiting yucky stuff. Frida Kahlo went through a lot of pain and suffering during her life. When she was 5 years old, she caught a serious disease called polio. She got better, but the disease left her right leg thin and weak. To improve her leg, Frida's parents got her to do lots of physical activities, including soccer, swimming, bicycling, and even boxing. Nothing seemed to help, though. Kids in the neighborhood started calling her Frida Pegleg. Frida wore long dresses and pants to hide her leg. She never wanted anyone to know she was different or feel sorry for her or make fun of her. All right, so here we have a cartoon, and it says, "Okay, kid, now remember, keep your right up." And her parents are saying, "I hope we're doing the right thing." And here's a photograph of her family, and there's Frida right there standing wearing the pants. Okay. Frida Kahlo was very curious as a child. She especially wanted to know about nature and science. Her father thought this was great and encouraged Frida to learn as much as she could. Frida was always bringing home plants, rocks, insects, and small animals to study. Mr. Kahlo was a professional photographer and an amateur artist who was also curious about all kinds of things. He taught his daughter about ancient Mexican art and architecture. Mr. Kahlo showed Frida how to use a camera and how to retouch and color photographs. These things came in handy later when Frida became an artist. So in this cartoon, it shows Frida right here with her magnifying glass saying, "Next!" And it looks like her mother looking pretty horrified. And then this is a portrait of her father, Retrato de mi padre, Wilhelm Kahlo, and a picture of El Castillo Chichen Itza in the Yucatan. Okay. Frida attended one of the best high schools in the country. It was located right in the middle of Mexico City. In high school, Frida learned how important the Mexican Revolution was to the people of her country. Before the revolution, thousands of people were treated like slaves. They were very poor and uneducated, and most worked on farms all day long. A few greedy government officials and farm owners kept all the money for themselves. In 1910, the Mexican people, with leaders like Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata, rebelled against the Mexican government and won the right to make life fair for everyone in Mexico. And we've heard about the Mexican Revolution in the Jose Guadalupe Posada book as well. Okay, so this one is called Zapata's Agrarian Revolution. Agrarian means farmers. Okay, up here we have agrarian leader Zapata. And down here we have Triumph of the Revolution, Distribution of Food. Triunfo de la Revolución, Reparto de los alimentos. And let's see, I think all of the, this one is done by Siqueiros, and these two are done by Diego Rivera, not Frida. Okay. One of the first things the new Mexican government did was hire artists to paint large scenes on the walls of public buildings for everyone to see. These paintings, called murals, showed the history of Mexico. They were meant to help uneducated people understand their past, make them proud of their country, and give them hope for the future. The most famous mural artists were David Siqueiros, Jose Orozco, and Diego Rivera. These painters were inspired by the art and colors of ancient Mexican civilizations. They were also influenced by Mexican popular art, like the lively prints of Jose Posada. They purposely kept away from European-influenced art, which was the accepted style of art before the Mexican Revolution. All right, so we got a bunch here. So this is by Orozco, called The Trench. Okay, this one is by Siqueiros, called Huelga de Cananea. Okay, that's really small, it's hard to see. And then down here we have The Totonac Civilization by Diego Rivera. And over here, Jose Guadalupe Posada. When Frida was 14 years old, Diego Rivera came to her school to paint one of his murals. In high school, Frida was known as a troublemaker. She made herself a pain in the neck to her teachers and anyone else in authority, including the famous Diego. Frida played tricks on Diego and called out names, like Old Fatso, while he was trying to work. Okay, so this is the mural that he painted in her school, and it's called Creation by Diego Rivera. Okay, and then here we have a cartoon, and Diego is telling the other teachers, look, there's Frida. He says, look, I don't mind the tack on my chair, tying my shoes together, or gum in my brushes, but gluing my lunchbox shut is going too far. She liked to play tricks on him. Frida wasn't all that interested in art until a very bad thing happened to her. One day, on the way home from school, the bus she was riding got into a terrible accident. Some people were even killed. Frida was badly injured and had to spend months in bed. Her bones never really healed properly. She had lots of pain and had to have many operations during her life. It was at this time that Frida decided to take up art. She was bored lying in bed and needed something to do. Frida borrowed her father's paints and brushes. Her mother had a special easel made so Frida could work while she was lying on her back. Frida started by painting portraits of her friends, family, and the subject she knew best, herself. So this here is a drawing that she did called El Accidente, 17th de Septiembre de 1926. Okay, so that's the day of the bus accident. And you can see she's wrapped up in bandages here as the bus is crashed and people lying around. It was a really terrible accident. And here's a self-portrait she did. Okay. At first, Frida was her own teacher. She studied her father's art books and copied the paintings of great European artists like Botticelli and Modigliani. But soon, just like the Mexican mural artists, Frida became more interested in the folk art of her own country. Frida loved the energy of these works of art and the simple stories they told. These paintings and prints seemed filled with a magic that many people in Mexico felt was a real part of their everyday lives. She found a mysterious power in religious paintings and ancient Mexican Indian art. Frida began to include in her own paintings the things that she discovered in Mexican folk art. Okay, so this one is by Amadeo Modigliani called Cafe Singer. This one is called Santo Niño de Atocha, and we don't know who the artist is. It's very old. Okay, this one up here is called San Francisco de Paula ex voto. Again, we don't know who the artist is. And down here we have The Bus, El Camión by Frida Kahlo. So she painted a picture of herself on the bus. Frida enjoyed painting. It made her feel better. Soon she felt well enough to get around again. Frida made up her mind then to never let her pain and injuries get in the way of having fun. She kept working on her paintings, got together with friends, and went to lots of parties. At one party, she was introduced to Diego Rivera. He didn't remember Frida because she was grown up now and looked much different. Diego did remember her, though, a few days later when she came to see him while he was painting one of his murals. Frida wanted to show Diego some of her artwork to see what he thought. Even though Frida had teased him years before, she had always been fascinated by Diego and respected his talent. All right, so this one is called Birth of Class Consciousness, El Agitador, by Diego Rivera. Okay, and then here we have a cartoon, and she says, "Hey, Mr. Rivera, come down here. I want to show you something." That's Frida. And then he says, "That voice! Where have I heard that voice before? No!" Diego thought Frida's artwork was great. Now that Frida was grown up, he thought she was great too. Frida invited Diego to her home to look at other paintings she had done. Diego visited the Kahlo home often. He and Frida got to know each other well and started dating. After a while, they fell in love. Even though Diego was more than 20 years older than Frida, they decided to get married. Diego always encouraged Frida with her art. He was proud of his talented wife. Frida learned a lot from Diego. He turned out to be an excellent art teacher. Okay, so here is a portrait of Galicia Galant by Frida. Here's a photograph of Frida and Diego on their wedding day. And another photograph of Frida and Diego. Doesn't say anything special about that one. Now Frida Kahlo was the wife of one of the most famous artists in the world. At first, it was fine with her to just take care of her husband. Frida enjoyed being with Diego every day while he worked, but she wasn't doing much of her own artwork. In the 1930s, Diego was asked to paint murals in the United States. Diego and Frida traveled there often and were admired wherever they went. They looked great together and were fun to be around. Frida and Diego were always being invited to the parties of rich and famous people. All right, so we have a photograph of the two of them. Okay, and then a painting that she did, Frida and Diego Rivera. Things didn't always go well between Diego and Frida, though. They often had serious arguments. One disagreement was over how much time they were spending in the United States. Diego loved the modern American cities, but Frida didn't enjoy being there at all. She was homesick and wanted to get back to Mexico. Frida did the painting on the next page to show her feelings about the United States. She painted an overcrowded New York City filled with factories, garbage, and pollution. There's no sign of Frida in this picture. She has probably returned to Mexico, leaving only her dress behind. Sometimes after a serious argument, Frida and Diego would live apart from each other. During these times, Frida painted more often and created some of her best works. So here's the New York City one called My Dress Hangs Here by Frida Kahlo. And you can see the toilet and all the pollution and all the trash, the fires burning. Frida Kahlo painted her real feelings in a way that had never been seen before. As time went on, her work started to become as well known as her famous husband's. Frida was able to show her happiness, disappointment, and pain. Her paintings are filled with Mexican colors and images that could have only come from someone who loved their country as much as she did. All right, so this one is called The Two Fridas. And then this one is called Self-Portrait with Cropped Hair. And you can see her hair is on the floor here where she chopped it off. And this is one of her more famous ones called The Frame. Notice she put a lot of flowers in there and birds. She made the picture not just about herself, but about all the other stuff around her. Made it very decorative. Frida Kahlo's health was a serious problem throughout her life. She died in 1954, but early on, Frida had decided to enjoy life as much as possible. She always spent a lot of time fixing her hair and dressing in beautiful costumes. Some of her friends said that when she was finished, she had become almost a piece of art herself. And there's a photograph of her. Let's see, do we have a date? Nope, doesn't say. Anyways, you can see how beautiful she was and how she always did her hair and her clothes and her jewelry. And I know a lot of my students giggle about her eyebrows. Well, back then, women weren't as concerned about plucking and trimming their eyebrows. It wasn't a thing like it is now. So she's got big eyebrows. That's okay. We're all different. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this book, and come back to my channel again for more books. And don't forget to wash your hands with lots of soap. Sing to the alphabet song so that that soap stays on your hands for a good long time. And I miss you guys. I love you. I look forward to the day we go back to our classrooms. And take care. Bye.